You ever get that feeling in your gut like something's off before you even know what it is? That's exactly how I felt pulling into my driveway 2 days earlier than planned. I'd been on the road for a business trip that got cut short, and all I could think about was coming home, kicking my boots off, and watching the game in peace. But the moment I turned onto my street, I saw the orange extension cords running across my lawn and the side gates swinging half open, and I knew something wasn't right. My heart started racing, not panic, not yet, but the kind of instinctive alertness that years of dealing with emergencies had trained into me. I parked, grabbed my bag, and walked around the house. That's when I saw her Karen. Not a Karen. Saw the Karen of our neighborhood. Short, wiry, aggressively blonde, with a Bluetooth earpiece and an aura of self-importance that could choke a mule. And she was crouched down next to my breaker box, holding what looked like bolt cutters in one hand and a pair of insulated gloves in the other. I just froze there for a second, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. My lights were off, my security camera's LED wasn't blinking, and the air conditioning wasn't humming. She had cut my damn power. "Karen," I said, not yelling, just loud enough to make her jump. She spun around like a raccoon caught in the trash, then immediately puffed up like she'd been expecting me. "Oh," she said, brushing imaginary dirt off her floral print blouse. "You're back early." I stared at her. "You want to tell me why you're on my property messing with my power box?" She looked me dead in the eyes and said, "Because you left your porch light on, and that violates HOA energy regulations for unattended homes." I blinked. "What? You were gone for more than 48 hours. There are energy codes. The board approved a shutoff to protect the community grid." "Karen," I said, trying to keep my voice from cracking into a laugh, "you're not with the electric company." She stepped forward, finger raised like she was about to deliver a sermon. "I'm on the HOA's Special Compliance Committee, which doesn't give you the right to cut my power." "Technically, I didn't cut it," she said, smug. "I just disconnected it temporarily for community safety. That was when I lost the ability to play polite. You had no right. You trespassed. You tampered with utilities. That's a crime." She actually rolled her eyes. "Don't be dramatic. You can call the HOA if you have a complaint." "Oh, I'm calling someone," I muttered, pulling out my phone. Now here's where it went from ridiculous to downright surreal. She snatched her phone out of her fanny pack and dialed 911. Saw. I'm standing on my own property, trying to stop someone from vandalizing my electrical panel, and this woman had the nerve to call the cops. "Yes, hello," she said into the phone, voice trembling but fake like bad theater. "There's a very aggressive man trespassing and threatening me. I don't feel safe." I didn't know whether to scream or laugh. "Ma'am, this is my house," I said, stepping back so the security camera above the garage could see my face clearly. "And you're about to get arrested for filing a false report." She turned away, still talking to dispatch, weaving this fantasy like she was some damsel in distress. I didn't argue. I just walked into the house, flipped the circuit breakers back on, and checked my inside cameras. Sure enough, she'd been snooping around the yard for the better part of an hour, touching things that had no business being touched. When the police pulled up 15 minutes later, I was sitting on my porch, calmly sipping a soda. Karen was pacing in her driveway, like she was preparing for court. The first officer approached me, a young guy, probably just a few years into the job. His partner looked more seasoned, quiet, watching everything. I introduced myself, handed over my ID, proof of ownership, and offered to show the footage. Karen stormed up, yelling over me. "He threatened me. He's unstable. He's not even supposed to be here. He's supposed to be out of town." The older officer raised an eyebrow. "Ma'am, are you saying this man is trespassing on his own property?" Karen froze. Then the younger officer asked to see my footage, and I gladly obliged. We watched a good 2 minutes of Karen trying to pop the padlock on my gate, then crossing into my yard, fiddling with the fuse box, and cutting the power. She even muttered to herself, "That'll teach him to ignore HOA notices." When the video ended, Nobody said anything for a moment. Then the senior officer turned to her and said, "Ma'am, we need to speak with you over there, please." She tried to protest, of course. "This is outrageous. I was enforcing HOA policies." "You're not law enforcement," he said firmly. "Tampering with a utility and making a false police report is very serious." That was the first time I saw the mask drop. Karen's righteous fury turned to panic. "No, you don't understand. The board told me to." But it was too late. The officers had heard enough. They didn't arrest her, not on the spot. But they did take a full report, and I made sure to press charges trespassing, vandalism, and false reporting. I even called my attorney that night, just to make sure all the documentation was airtight. The next week was chaos in the HOA. Suddenly, every neighbor had a Karen story how she'd cited them for fence line overgrowth, or tried to issue fines for Christmas lights being up too long. The board called an emergency meeting. I showed up, clean-cut, calm, and armed with paperwork. Karen showed up late, flustered, and didn't say a word the whole time. By the end of that meeting, she was suspended indefinitely. A week later, she resigned from the board entirely. I'd love to say that was the end of it, but she stuck around. Still lives a few houses down. Avoids eye contact now. Doesn't say a word to anyone unless absolutely necessary. And I've got no problem with that. I don't need an apology. I just need her to understand that you don't mess with people's homes. You don't fabricate authority. And you damn sure don't weaponize the police against your neighbors because of a porch light. I also made sure the HOA passed a Motiano NDVY dual board member can interfere with private utilities without a full board vote, and certainly not without contacting the homeowner. So now I've got peace and quiet again. My cameras are upgraded. My circuit box has a lock. And my porch light? Still on. Because sometimes you've got to leave the light on it just for yourself, but to let people like Karen know. Some of us are done playing nice. Let me know if you've ever dealt with someone like that, someone who thought their clipboard made them sheriff of the suburbs. Drop your story in the comments below. And if you're part of an HOA, maybe share this with your board, just in case anyone's getting ideas. Thank you for taking the time to listen to today's story on Store of Good Stories. If this story touched your heart or made you think, don't forget to hit like and share the video to spread this positive message to more people. And if this is your first time here, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of the meaningful stories we share every week. Your support is the biggest motivation for Store of Good Stories to keep bringing heartfelt and valuable stories to you. See you in the next video.